we are starting and we are experimenting with the time to see how we can get the students of Persian studies also interested in topics. Please come in and pick some fruit and come and sit down and come closer. The gentleman busy over there getting ready is our distinguished guest today, Mr. Kazım Davudyan, who's going to play and also speak about the instruments. Mr. Davudyan graduated from University of Tehran, College of Music and Dramatic Arts, and he worked also individually with some distinguished musicians, including Ismail Tehrani for the instrument santur and Rahman al-Rajabi for the percussion instrument tombak. He also worked on composition with figures as well known as Tamiz Roshan Ravan in Iran. And Mr. Davudyan himself has composed for the Tehran Symphony Orchestra and for other occasions, and he has performed here in the United States and elsewhere. It's really a pleasure to have him with us. I know he has also invited a friend, Mr. Jahangir Sichan, who will play the instrument tombak, and he is known for his personal stuff. He started his training with his mother. He writes in his biography, and so it's one of those instances of learning being very much a part of the culture and the family relations. But he has been in the United States since 1970 and holds a degree in mechanical engineering from University of Texas. So he's been wearing many different hats. But in performance, he has actually accompanied great musicians such as Farhang Sharif, Dariush Taloi, Abdul Wahab Shahidi, and of course, Mr. Davudyan. I believe they recently, on September 29th, had a performance at Washington, D.C., Poet Night at Regency Hall in McLean, Virginia. So, please come forward. Okay, so thank you so much. I think what we will do, Mr. Davudyan said he prefers to start playing, and then he will speak about the instrument, and we have promised our students that we will have both Persian and English. So he'll do some Persian, and I'll do some English translation when we get there. Oh, and one last point, Mr. Sichan gave me this flyer about using the instrument for arthritis pain. So if you're interested in looking at this, there are brochures on the table over there, and you can pick some fruit and come forward. Oh, and I believe there is a sheet somewhere for you to sign up. I know some of you said you would like to be on the list of our programs, so please remember to put your names down.
Actually, my speech is only this.
It's very eloquent.
We have 7 or 5 scales to Iranian music. I select one of them, we call it Mahur. So, playing Mahur. Mr. Sichan also playing tombak, very traditional style. If you want to see how to play the other tombak players, you can go to YouTube, you can Iranian music also is a kind of music which need a good mood for musician. It's very difficult. It's very different with the other musician. For example, a musician play piano, play a piece from, for example, Beethoven. He played actually 500 times, 1,000 times, and can play very well. And I think it doesn't need to have a good mood. And now I don't have that. Mood because I have to play something. It's totally different when Iranian musician get a good mood. Improvisation will be different because I'm going to improvise. technical. It's difficult to say. Must be a board here, and then I wrote something, notes, and show you what's different. The intervals in music is different. For example, in Western music, there is two scales, major and minor. All the music you will hear is, I'm sorry, but my English is not good. Forgive me. Yeah, it's major and minor. The first different is the third step. For example, do, re, mi is major, or do, re, mi, flat, or bemol is minor.
Like quarter tone.
Not quarter tone. Quarter tone is for Iranian music. We have quarter tone, but in Western music there is no quarter tone. There's only half a step and one step. And Iranian music is the same thing. For example, the Mahur scale is like this. Shura scale is like this. Sound. Unfortunately, santur is a special instrument. We cannot, I cannot play another dastgah with this tune. For example, we have chahargah, segah, homayun. For santur is difficult because of the tune of these pens. Change the scale. So this question is
Very technical.
Yeah, very technical.
Could you tell us about the instrument itself a little bit, how old it is, and whether it changed over time?
Yeah.
Because there seem to be similar instruments in some other traditions, but not quite.
This santur is Iranian instrument. It's very old, but we don't know exactly when. Then santur in other countries has santur. China has a santur. In the US also there is a hammer dulcimer, but the structure is different. And also another santur in India, in Europe. And the sound is different, but the shape is a little bit the same. But sound and structure is so totally different.
Is this the first instrument that
Yeah, I start with this instrument. Yeah. Actually, after many few years, I studied composing. So I spent a lot of time for that.
من حس کردم که واقعا خسته کننده است، مثل که این تمرکزی که شما میدید به ذهنتون انرژی میبره.
بله، من همونجور گفتم need mood, good mood, totally different. من میتونم این ساز رو یک زمان دیگری اجرا بکنم اصلا یه چیز دیگه بشه. اینقدر مهمه. اگه بخوایم ایمپرووایز کنیم، اگه بخوایم یه قطعی رو که مثلا 100 بار من رو زدم و حفظ کردم تون میزنیم میریم خداحافظ. ولی کار ایمپروویزیشن واقعا یه کار خلاق است. در لحظه شما باید کمپوز بکنید و این واقعا بستگی داره به مود آدم، به تمرکز و کانسنتریشن. Yeah, sure.
So the question was if there's a lot of energy that goes into the actual play, so that we really look tired and put a lot of physical energy there. And Mr. Galvian says that a lot depends on the ambiance, on the mood, at the moment, how ready you are to play. And I can play the same piece in two different mood and feeling and come out for the pieces to come out differently, particularly if it's improvisation. If it's a composed piece, it would be the same, but if it's improvisation, you are composing in the moment, just as you're playing. So it kind of takes all of your concentration at that moment.
So you cannot see all writers or musician can create all the time.
Yeah.
You need maybe someone is driving and then make
There's a
a
time
poem.
when they can.
این improvisation همون بداهه نوازی
بداهه نوازی.
وقت این مثلا با بداهه نوازی جاز شروع
Same.
همون
Same.
هست ولی مثل در موسیقی کلاسیک کم کرده درست میگم؟
تا اینجا که من دیدم اینطوریه.
چون از روی نوت میزنن دیگه
بله.
یعنی بیشتر همون حالت فرمولی رو داره که شما گفتید اگر
از قبل کامپوز میشه تو موسیقی ایرانی هم همینجوره. Many musicians in Iran make music, compose, write, and then practice a lot and show to people. But improvising is different.
من یادم بچه که بودم یکی از ایرادایی که به موسیقی سنتی ایران وارد بود اینه که تنوع نداره، بداهه نوازی نداره، همش فرمولیه، از استاد به شاگرد به ارث رسیده. این پس بداهه نوازی آیا پدیده جدیده؟
نمیتونیم بگیم که improvisation is new. We had, I think, around of the world, we had improvising music. But in موسیقی شهر چیز هست. این قضیه خیلی بیشتر باز کرده. موسیقی هند هست. موسیقی شهر بطور کلی. و هم اون نوع فرمش وجود داشته و هم فرم improvised.
If you were to write music, does Iran have its own notation for music? Like sheet music, does it look different? Do you use different symbols? Or?
موسیقی همونجوری نوشته میشه برای موسیقی ایرانی.
Oh yes. Same, because about 100 years ago, we had a famous musician. His name was Colonel Waziri. He went to Europe, Germany, and he studied Western music. Back to Iran, and then he started training people with the notation. But after that, we wrote Iranian music with notes, same note that international note. Many years ago, I cannot. It's difficult for me to say, but we had something like notation, which we have right now. But I cannot tell about that. This is totally different. But we learned from actually Europe notation, and we could note all the composition of Iranian music and traditional music. Before that, we call sine be sine. Memory to memory before that. But after that, we write all Iranian music, print the books, and so now, for example, I use symphony orchestra, but music is not Western music. I just use the symphony orchestra, and because I studied Iranian music. I know about the Iranian traditional music. I just used the orchestra, for example, like chamber music or symphony orchestra, but inside is Iranian motif, Iranian melody, Iranian tempo.
I also saw that there was a notation for percussion instrument. I saw that Mr. Tehrani had music written for tombak.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
common?
Yeah. He also learned notation and wrote the rhythm. And after that, all people go to the University of somewhere and learn a lot about notation, music theory.
Do you want to show us any of the other instruments?
Okay,
I
sure.
know you brought other instruments.
Sure. This instrument is not my main instrument. It's called play like something. Also, unfortunately, my hand, it's a few months to get a problem and it's difficult to play. Just to show you. This is tall. Right. It's like guitar. This instrument is like most of the instruments around of the world because it's called chromatic instrument. Chromatic means we have all notes. But I cannot play like this with sandur. It's called diatonic instrument. This is chromatic instrument. And most of instrument around of the world is chromatic. Unfortunately, my hand is a problem. I cannot play very well. So this is the sound. There is a skin. And there is a bridge here. There is three instruments. Three strings, do, sol, do. This part is new. The old tar was has another shape. This is the new one. Setar. This is setar, and this part is the same thing like that, but it's smaller. Also, there is three strings, do, so, do. And there is no skin, just wood, sound. Most of sitar player play with nail. But my nail is not good, so I create something, put it to my finger. The sound is very low.
Can you tell us how you know, what you learned first and where you went from there, which, that was your main instrument, santur is your main
It's my
instrument.
name, but I teach the sitar, tar, and tombak and daf. So
The question was, how did you add these instruments and how many instruments did you play?
this thing.
That one.
And also there is another Iranian percussion, daf, like this, big scale, with the rings. You hold it like this, and you use this rings, and the sound is like this. This instrument is the Sichani made by himself in US.
Oh, yes. In West Virginia.
Yes. You can play a little bit composition on the
Could you also tell us about the way you made the instrument, just
Well,
about the instrument?
Back in 1985, I was in West Virginia managing a project for DuPont. And in an early revolution in Iran, I couldn't bring my tombak. That was basically prohibited by the Islamic Republic of Iran. Then since I started when I was 10, I couldn't live without it. I rent a house and I went to the basement. There was a fireplace. And a big log next to the fireplace. The landlord name was Bob. I called Bob, I said, what is this log here for? He says, I use it as an anvil to chop the woods for the fireplace. And if you don't want it, just burn it. I said, what is it? He said, I don't know. I said, how long this log been here? He says, 20 years. He said, oh my God. I went upstairs and I grabbed my file and started rubbing it and then wet it, smell it, that become a dark walnut. Then I had to find, a place to turn it. And there was a machine shop, an old man in West Virginia, purchased in West Virginia. I went there and said, oh, no. In a metal lace, I'm not going to allow you to turn wood. I said, I promise you, I made it shiny, better than before. On Sundays, let me just do it. It is okay. Walnut characteristic is when you turn it, the chips doesn't break. It's just like a ribbon. Continuously, it's just coming. What I did, I realized this piece of log didn't have any cracks. And of course, there is a bark on it, and then you have to, on the other surface, there are lot of fine, soft wood. You have to turn it until it gets the solid wood. I drilled a hole, and anyhow, it was a required process to, especially the nafir. This tombak has three parts. The surface, which is I use a camel neck rawhide for the head, for the skin. Because especially for this environment in Maryland, which I reside, had to be thicker, then humidity won't have that much effect on it. And the body, and then nafir, they call it nafir. And it's the hollow, larger cylinder in here, and the shape of here has a vital role as far as the base. That's why, I have 20 different tombak for the hand arthritis therapy, but none of them, and those tombak was made professionally in Iran, but none of them sound like this. Like Mr. Sharif always, when we talk on phone, he says, whenever you visit Iran, you bring your tombak. Because we played and he is familiar. This sound a real tombak. We call it sound from the nose to the mari. It's not sharp like Arabic, instrument, or it's not too dull like dohol. But the tombak, this is for the single instrument, like accompanied with santur or tar. This is perfect as far as the diameter is concerned. The thickness of here is very important because when you snap, and the reason they call this tombak, because when you play bass, it should sound like tom. Back. And of course, this is a rhythmic instrument. When I play with Master Davudian, normally the objective of improvisation is to connect. In other words, we are sitting in a train and we make you jump in a train and we take you for a ride. And if we do that, then we accomplish our goal, which in a half an hour, you don't have chance to switch your leg. That is the best definition of the improvisation. Now, if we could not make the connection, then, or if the audience say, oh my God, when they're going to finish? That's no good. But anyhow, this is a rhythmic instrument, and in Iranian rhythms, there are 2/4, 4/4, and except, to distinguish between the Persian rhythms, we have 5/8 or 5/4 or 7/8, and but the 2/4 and 4/4 mainly is in the Western music, but not the 5/8 or 7/8. Like I played one piece of 7/8, and you see, then I go to the 7/8 and then transit into 6/8. No, I played 5/8. to 6/8. Two four. The difference between 2/4 and the 6/8 is 2/4 says 1, 2, 6/8 is 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. There is a black note with the dot. That's distinguished between 2/4 and 6/8. And normally 6/8 is the beat most Iranian like it. And my mother was my teacher and my promoter. God bless her soul, she passed away 3 months ago, and she was 92 and she lived a good life, and she was visiting me more often. But the first 6/8 I ever learned was the ladies in Iran, they have a gathering and the ladies play special 6/8, and that was my motivation of learning, and then start creating my own technique and write scripts, and this is the first rhythm I ever learned, and that was my promoter. Then I changed it to that was a short comeback. And it's been an honor to be here today. And it was an honor to accompany the Master Dawidian. I'm retired now, and I love the way he improvised on the santur. That is his style, and I guess we find matches without any practices. That is the improvisation. Is I can read his mind and I know exactly where he's going, and then try to find the path
Company,
together.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much.
Excellent.